We have breaking news out of Washington. A federal appeals court rejecting former President Trump's efforts to block the release of his White House records. Let's bring in NBC News Justice correspondent Pete Williams. So, Pete, that decision coming within just the last few minutes or so. What did the court have to say?
So this is a unanimous opinion by the three-judge panel that heard arguments in this case. And what they say basically is that whatever executive privilege remains for the former president, it's not enough to overcome the desire and the demand and the need of the January 6th committee for the documents that it seeks of the Trump administration that are now in the custody of the National Archives and over which Mr. Trump had asserted executive privilege. It says that the former president has failed to show why the court should override the President Biden's decision not to invoke executive privilege on these documents and release them to Congress. It says that he provides no basis to override that judgment and override an accommodation that was worked out between the two political branches, the executive branch here and the Congress. And it says that he failed to show that he would likely succeed, that President Biden had a carefully reasoned decision about how a claim of executive privilege over these documents was not in the interest of the United States, that Congress has a uniquely vital interest in studying the attack in order to formulate legislation to avoid something like this happening in the future, that the documents are relevant to what the Congressional Committee wants to look into, that there's really no other way to get this information. And Mr. Trump has failed, the court says, to allege or even demonstrate any particular harm to him that would arise from disclosing any of this material. So the court rules against him. It's a loss for him, but the documents cannot be handed over right now for at least 2 weeks, because the court has put a 14-day stay on its own order here. Now, it orders the archives to turn the document over, but then it also says time out, 14 days to give Mr. Trump's lawyers time to appeal this to the Supreme Court. Now, those lawyers could go to the full D.C. Court of Appeals, but they indicated when this issue was argued here in late November that their next stop would likely be the Supreme Court. So the appeals court's giving them 14 days to get their act together and go to the Supreme Court. And by the way, I'm sure Mr. Trump's lawyers realized where this was headed. It was pretty obvious from the argument that their claims were not going to carry the day. So they must have anticipated this, and I would guess that they've pretty well already got their homework done on what it would take to file in the Supreme Court.
Okay. And Pete, beyond those 14 days, do we have an idea of what could happen next, potentially?
Well, for now, nothing. Once we get to the 14 days, then it'll be up to the Supreme Court to decide whether to put a stay on this and whether they're going to take this case. I mean, you have to ask the Supreme Court to take the case. It's not an automatic appeal. If the Supreme Court says no, then that's that, and the stay is dissolved. So the next step will be to see what the Supreme Court does within the 14-day period.
All right, Pete Williams, with that breaking news. Pete, thank you.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.